All right, so we are going to be looking at each of the problem examples that we're going to be working through for lesson 1.3.a. So let's take a look and see exactly what we're dealing with on here. I'm going to first adjust my zoom so we can see things a little bit better. All right, it looks like we have a list of cars at a dealership. Looks like there's like a Honda Civic. They have 15 of them that are red, okay, 16 that are blue, 4 are black. This kind of looks like an organized sheet, so the dealership knows what they have on hand. So when people come in looking for cars, they can tell them, well, we have 4 cars that fit that model. I'm going to go over here. Let's look at these instructions. This is the spreadsheet for a car dealership. The sales team likes to keep a list of all vehicles to stay organized and keep track of how many cars they have for each type and color. Your goal is to help them finish this spreadsheet at the bottom. They want us to have a running total of vehicles for each car type and color. Using your knowledge of formulas, which we've been working with, the functions, replace the question marks with the formulas that provide each count. Okay, so let's take a look and see exactly what they're basically asking us for. We're going to scroll down. All right, for each question mark in the cells below, write the formula that tells us how many of each car the dealership has. These must be formulas that change with adjustments in the data above. So those are the things that we went over in lesson 1.3.a. One example of each was already done for you for reference. Okay? So this one sticks out to me the most, the Honda Civic, right? So they have 55 Honda Civics. Let's scroll back up and see maybe how they got that logic. So I'm going to scroll up back here. I see the Honda Civics. I would guess that it's the 15 red ones, plus the 16 blue ones, plus the 4 black ones, plus the 9 white ones, plus the 7 gray ones, plus the 4 orange ones. So it looks like they grabbed a sum or the addition of this entire row of numbers. Okay, let's go back down and see if that makes sense. It looks like they gave us one, so let's take a look exactly to see how they pieced that together. I double click into it, and sum, okay, equals sum, parentheses, C3 colon H3. So that means the cells C3 through H3 are being counted in here. Let's go back up here. I see column C and row 3, so that's C3, and that's through column H to 3. So their sum was created by this entire range or this entire horizontal line of the cars. Okay, so let's test that. Let's try to do the Honda Accords as our next one. Let's grab all of those and see if we can find a sum of those. So I'm going to scroll back down. I see the Honda Accord. All right, I need to plug something into here. So I'm going to double click, and I'm going to get rid of that question mark. What we need to put in is, again, like the others, because we're just going to add it all up, equals sum, parentheses, and it's saying how many do you want, or which cells do you want to be included in this? Well, let's scroll back up, all right, and I see the accord is right here, so I want it to be from this cell, and I click it, it says C4. I'm going to drag it over, and notice how it makes that range for each one. Okay, I'm going to release it, and I'm going to click on the parentheses to close off that cell. And notice how this is like floating around with us too. That's kind of neat. So we can actually adjust this cell here in the accord section, but we can also move around to choose the range or the cells that we want to be included in this. And when I press enter, we got 59. Okay? And if we want to do some sort of check, maybe check 1 or 2 of these to build up our confidence, we could take the accord of numbers and add them all up together. 5 plus 7 is 12, plus 6 is 18, plus another 18 is 36, plus another 6 is 42, plus another 17 is 59. And look at that, the number checked out. All right, so we need to go through all of these to figure out which type of vehicles match each of the rows. All right. Now, There are some shortcuts if you want to try to play around with those, but for the most part, we're going to go through and quickly add in. So for the CRV, same idea, equals the sum, parentheses, and then I'm going to scroll up to where the CRV is, and I'm going to click to grab all of those squares again. Close my parentheses and press enter. All right, so there we go. It looks like we're able to repeat this process, and it's a little bit faster every time you do it. All right. Now, we also have the Hondas here, like all of the Hondas. So all of the Civics, all of the Accords, all of the CRVs. There's two ways to approach this, and we're going to look at all of those, both of them. So I'm going to first do the way that we would look at the chart and fill it all in. So again, I'm going to double click and remove the question mark. This is equals sum, parentheses, and then I have to choose which cells I want that to be part of. Let's scroll back up. Okay, now it's the Civics, the Accords, and the CRVs. So I'm going to draw the box going to the right, but then I'm not done. I'm also going to drag down, and I'm going to drag down again, so I got all of the Honda values. All right, Honda Civic, Honda Accord, and Honda CRV are all within this data set. I'm going to put a parentheses to close it and press enter. And there we go. We got 166 of the vehicles because I chose all of the vehicles that were in the boxes for Honda vehicles. Let's look at a different way to approach this. I'm going to delete this again. This time, I'm going to think a little bit outside the box. Well, I got all the Civics, the Accords, and the CRVs, so I think all three of these numbers would just add up to the total number of Honda vehicles. So I can even do equals sum, parentheses, and then I need to close out this reminder because I need to grab this box, and this box. So it's the sum of the sums. And that's another tricky way that you can get this done. When I press enter, we have that same exact number as we had before. And if we go in and adjust these, for example, let's say that we sell one of these red Honda Civics. If I press enter, we can scroll back down to our chart down here and notice that the numbers went down. All right. You're going to be repeating this idea for the Toyota vehicles, the Ford vehicles. Oh, look at that. One of the Ford vehicle numbers were already done. And all the Hyundai vehicles. So again, it's repeating this idea so that it works for each of these different cars. We also have one additional thing that we need to do. I'm just going to delete these to bring this document back to the way it was, because this is what we're going to be working on and learning from. We also want counts of each of the vehicles that are different colors. So to do this, let's take a look at our first example. All right? They grabbed that as the sum from H3 to H16. Let's take a look up here and see what they're talking about. So here's H3, okay, and it goes all the way down to H16, into row 16 down here. Oh, okay, so instead of us finding the sum going horizontal, because that's each of the car types, we want to go vertical because that's the column that represents the color of each of the cars. So why don't we look at, let's say, the gray number count, right? Now again, we're going to look at two different ways that we can approach this. We can type in the formula, or we can do that click and drag that we've been working on. So let's stay with our familiar piece, the click and drag. So I'm going to scroll back down to here. I'm going to adjust the gray number of cars. I want to put in the formula that finds that out. Get rid of that question mark. Equals sum, parentheses, and then I'm going to move my mouse upwards. And I'm going to start from the first number of the gray vehicles and drag it all the way down. Okay? Then I'm going to close the parentheses, and when I press enter, I should get down here, 138, okay? And that looks like that is a count, or the sum, of all of the vehicles that are the gray color. Now, we may have noticed a little trick here, or maybe you're seeing a little bit of a pattern, right? If we look at the orange, that's H3 to H16. Okay. The gray is G3 to G16. Let's go back to the white ones and let's kind of take an experiment with this. So orange was in the column H, gray was in the column G, white is in the column F, and I know it starts at 3 and it ends at 16. So why don't we, instead of having to go all the way back up to the top, click and drag and draw our boxes, why don't we just kind of study the pattern like we just did and see if we can write it without needing to go up to the top and drag through all of them. So let's scroll down. I'm going to go into white. Remember, let's look at gray again for a quick reminder. G3 to G16, okay. H3 to H16, so it's H, then we go back a letter to G. Let's go back a letter to F and see what that gives us. So we're going to say equals sum, parentheses, it was F3 colon F16. When I close the parentheses and press enter, I have another sum of vehicles. Let's take a look up here again. All right, it goes from F3 all the way down to F16. So we were actually able to type and kind of logic out where it started and where it stopped. So we really don't have to go in, click, scroll all the way up, and then drag that range. There's nothing wrong with it, but sometimes I like to find these little shortcuts so we can find solutions to our problems in the fastest and most efficient way. Okay? So that is task 1 on here. All right? You're going to be filling in everything that has these parentheses. But again, if you can figure out the formulas quickly, you can very quickly type them in and make sure that they represent each of the sums that you're looking for. All right? Take your time with this. You know, don't be afraid to reach out if you have any questions or if you need any help with things. And remember, there's nothing wrong with being a little frustrated with this. Spreadsheets are tricky, but that's why there are so many opportunity careers within this field.